Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining today's stream. Welcome, Hunter, Vicky, Corbin, Dora. Thank you so much for joining today. As always, let us know what stocks you're watching. To start the day off, we have markets up a decent amount. The SPY and QQQ are slightly elevated. I would say the SPY more than the QQQ. We have bank stocks rising pretty well this morning. GM is up a pretty good amount so far in pre-market. Overall, heading into the market, it looks like value stocks are doing a little bit better. Even airlines are doing pretty good this morning, while some tech stocks are rebounding. But in general, it looks like most of that momentum is flowing towards those stocks. You could say like Boeing, the banks, and even some of the airlines.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm definitely going to have my eyes on Boeing after that huge move up that they had at the end of the day off of that China news where they might get those 737 Maxes back into China and get back in use, which is a big thing for them. Apparently, there's a test flight coming up soon. So definitely watch Boeing. I think that there's a lot of potential for move out of this one. And just looking on the Max Daily, there's definitely a lot of upwards momentum that could be had, just seeing how much we've been down the past couple of weeks.
You know it. And then we have Corbin saying no sleep, looking at Apple to the downside. So how's Apple doing, Tom? It looks like it is down a little bit today, around 0.2% or so, but it looks like it's holding that support right at like 142.50.
Yeah, it is actually holding this morning, like you said, off that intraday level, and it looks decent. That level was actually hit yesterday, right before close, and in the middle of the day yesterday at that 142.50 level. And we are getting some green actually at open here, so hopefully it can start to go down for his sake. But man, the green does look pretty good today from Apple, and it looks like a lot of stocks are kind of catching some green today. I know right before open, Facebook kind of caught some green as well. Let's see how the QQQ is looking at open. We're seeing red out of that though, so that's a weird sign to see. But Apple is actually got, at least for right now, in this one single minute since the market's been open, it's going up.
Gotcha. We have Hunter talking about Baba. So, Tom, this stock has been just crazy. Like, it's been getting smacked so much over the past week or so. They were looking so good like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they just got rejected so hard. That bad China news really smacked Baba, JD, PDD, and of course all the China ETFs, but they are bouncing back up now. I was monitoring so much unusual options activity with Baba and these Chinese stocks, and it actually looks like the smart money may have lost on this one, but either way, Baba is coming back up today, and it's good to finally see some green.
Yeah, it is. And it's hitting right off that, or right around that 200 support, I should say. It went a little bit lower, maybe down to like 198, but overall, it ended up holding that level very nicely, is holding the 1000 SMA and the 1000 EMA, as Hunter pointed out yesterday as well. And honestly, looks like a pretty good possible bounce for the future, I think. And especially off that SMA, a lot of times the 1000 SMA and the EMA composes a very good long-term level whenever stocks fall a lot before they hit that. So for example, Baba was getting pretty overextended up above this, and then it took them quite a while to come down and touch that, but they finally did. And I think that we might start to see some green movement off of here. So I would definitely throw Baba on your radar just in case you see it breaking some highs, maybe around like 205 or anywhere like that.
I'd hope we start to see some like significant green soon. It's right at that $200 support, and who would have thought it'd be at 200 a couple weeks ago when it was sitting at like 230? So it's just been getting smacked lately. Do you have any like major levels or like anything specific that you're watching out for?
Yeah, my favorite thing is obviously the 200 support. I think that that's going to be huge in the short term and the longer term. But going forward, if we start to see a big pop out of it today, I see a little bit of resistance around 205, but it's not too defined right now. The big area is right around 210 to 211. It was definitely consolidating around that level for about a week before it ended up falling down to this 200 level where we are now. So definitely look out for 210. That's going to be a very large level, like I said. And we did consolidate there for a little while. So it's really defined there. And I think that we might hold that level if we get back above there. But as of right now, we're at 202. So we might have some good movement up to 210. And I'm not saying that'll happen today. Today, I would say maybe 205 or 207, but maybe 210 will come sometime next week.
Gotcha. So we have Morris and Trading Desk saying SPCE, let's go. So SPCE had an amazing day yesterday. They pulled back a little bit this morning, but look, they're showing some strength right at open. They opened right at 51, fell down to like almost $50, and they're coming back up now. And SPCE is a runner, and when it catches momentum, it can really run. And then Tom, when's the test flight or the flight? Is it Sunday?
Yeah, it's Sunday, July 11th.
Gotcha. So yeah, they have that flight coming up. This is a huge catalyst. They're going into space, and it's like like there's people actually on the flight. It's a huge accomplishment for the company, and there definitely can be a run up in anticipation of the flight because if it goes great, this can be amazing for Virgin Galactic.
Yeah, it really can. And man, they'll start to get a bunch of bookings. I know that they already have a bunch of stuff scheduled right now. So the money should start coming in for them as long as they can keep these flights up. And like you said, it's going to be a pretty good event and honestly, pretty monumental. There's no other company that's done this yet. They're the first ones to finally get like space tourism going. So overall, just an awesome sector to see, cool stock. And honestly, I hope that Richard Branson and I hope it all goes very well on Sunday and ends up pushing the stock higher. But just keep in mind, anything can happen. The big thing that I'm a little worried about is I saw someone comment this on YouTube as well, is maybe like a weather delay or something. Like if there's a thunderstorm or something, they might not be able to take off and it'll just get pushed back. But, I think that it will end up being pretty successful.
Good stuff. So it looks like we have Palantir in the green, which is good. NIO is one of the leaders on my watch list this morning. They're up around 1.5%. They're not looking too strong though. One other stock I was looking at was Airbnb. This one has been consolidating for over a couple months now, and I've really just been waiting for it to like really break out. I like the company for the long term. I know that they have a pretty high valuation, but they're just on my radar and they're looking pretty good today.
Yeah, they are. It actually looks like a pretty good little rebound there off of that like 139 to 140 level down there. I really like that. And they're holding up above the 100 SMA today. And at open, like you said, they had a pretty good run up so far. And it looks like they're about to break that high of just a couple minutes ago and possibly start to run back up. I really like this setup. And I'm looking for some levels to maybe look out for today as we head up. And it looks like right where we are right now is a little bit of a resistance. This was like the lows of yesterday. So definitely or not yesterday, a couple days ago, but definitely be a little careful right now. Looks like we are hitting some resistance. I think that there's a little bit more of a defined level around like 146, but honestly, everywhere where we are seems like that there's a little bit of resistance from a couple days ago. So I'd be a little careful with it, but as long as this momentum can keep up, it'll be pretty decent, but it looks like it is getting some consolidation right now.
Awesome. And we have Dennis saying snow is running. I'm very glad Dennis brought this one up. This one is also on my watch list. And there's actually some pretty good unusual options activity with this one. Some smart money bought the 250 strike calls for August. And they're doing pretty well. I think they bought them on June 29th. And they're starting to pop up pretty well right now. Overall, I like the setup. It's breaking out and it has momentum. So I think this one can definitely continue to run.
Yeah, me too. I love Snowflake. It's been moving a lot the past couple of days. It had that awesome call out by the bot a couple of days ago where ended up running up and hitting a level really quickly. I ended up getting out for a quick 5%, but I know a lot of people kept holding for the rest of the day and ended up getting a little bit higher on it. And it's definitely a runner. Whenever we look on the daily, it's still pretty low comparative to where it was a couple of years ago. So definitely have it on your radar. I like how it's starting to really break out from here. And I would think we might be able to see a pretty good run, maybe up to somewhere around the 275 level. And we're only sitting at around 254 right now.
You know it. So guys, let us know what stocks you're watching. It's Friday. Let us know what stocks you're looking at for next week. Comment in the comments. We're looking to look at some stocks for everyone. We have Justin saying, good morning, guys. Let's go Apple and SPCE. Yeah, so Apple's definitely been a really solid company. They're down a little bit today. Not too bad, though, but they've had a crazy run up over the past couple weeks.
Yeah, they have. And they're almost at those all-time highs, keep in mind. Like if we look at that daily, they're almost double topping up here. So we'll have to see if they can continue their movement up or not. Today, it looks like they are actually catching some red right now. I would say if they break that 142.50 level, to the downside, I would start to be a little bit more bearish on them, but I don't think they'll do that. It looks like they might hold this level, at least for right now. So I really like Apple as long as it can hold this level. But if it ends up going down, I might look at it to the downside. And, not obviously, I'm not going to be swinging it to the downside, just a very quick move down. But it looks like we are getting some green off of that support.
All right, and then we have Raphael asking about DNUT, Krispy Kreme. Love Krispy Kreme. They're doing pretty good. They're up around 2% today, and they're definitely holding their ground, which is awesome to see because sometimes with these IPOs, all it takes is, a couple bad catalysts and they can just, get just demolished. And a couple examples I have is one, Didi, DIDI, which is a recent IPO China stock, and they got smacked. And even another one was Airbnb when they first IPO. They had 3 or 4 horrible red days.
Yeah, and then even Coin. I mean, Coin had a bad IPO too, and it seems like that this stuff is just it happens quite a bit with IPOs. I don't know if it's the insiders buying it up and then selling them as soon as it IPOs or what ends up happening. But man, I know that there's definitely a lot of weird stuff that goes on with them, and it seems like that sometimes we see a good rise out of them, but more times than not, it seems like the stocks end up falling at least over the past year or two.
Exactly. So I love Krispy Kreme donuts. I don't really know too much on how their fundamentals look, but I hope they keep rallying. Corbin said, watching OSTK 95 strike calls for next Friday. So OSTK isn't doing much yet, but it's very, very early in the market so far. One thing, Corbin, is just be very careful trading those short-term expirations because you can be dead on accurate with your prediction, but you can still lose money just because of time decay, and no one wants that. If you're going to put in the hard work to find and analyze these stocks, make sure you have some time because it would really suck to predict the direction correctly just to lose money.
Yeah, for sure. And getting the right options pricing and just getting the option that's going to move the best is always the best way to go. So I definitely agree with Mike. And honestly, Overstock looks pretty good right now. I'll say it's moving pretty well off the technicals. I like it off the SMAs, and looks like we could catch some green this morning. It looks like we did. It was going down a little bit initially at open, but it looks like it's bouncing off that support around $89 and it's starting to pop back up.
Awesome. And Corbin, just so you know, it is never, it's always good to buy more time. It's always good to be in a position where your options have time to work out and then the theta isn't too bad. So even if you have to go further out of the money, most of the time it's going to be worth that extra cost just to buy more time. Other things you can do is a call debit spread. We have a ton of videos on different types of spreads on the main channel, or you can just go to investopedia.com and search a call debit spread, and that can give you a ton of great information, and it can really, really help you out, especially when it comes to time decay and stuff like that, because time decay can be brutal. Even sometimes Tom and I have had it happen to us many times, is you'll predict a direction 100% accurately, and you still lose money, and it just sucks. So I'd hate for that to happen to you. So it never hurts to buy more time. We have Matthew asking about the S&P 500 and the Dow. So Tom, what are you seeing this morning with the indices?
Yeah, the S&P is actually starting to pop up. It was initially down, but we're seeing a pretty good run back to the upside right now. The SPY is actually starting to look like it might break that high of pre-market right around 433. I think if we start to get a good move out of that, we could easily hit 434.50 or maybe 435 up here at the top. Looks like a pretty good day for the SPY overall. Honestly, the QQQ isn't looking the best. They are lagging behind a little bit, but the DIA is starting to really fly up. Like we said, those banks are doing a lot better today, starting to really come up. Bank of America is up 2.5%. We got JP Morgan up 1.75%, but their move looks pretty good. And honestly, they look like they might break that pre-market high pretty soon with another big run. So I would keep the banks on the radar, but the indices, like we said, for a while there, tech was really leading the way, but it's kind of switching around now. And it seems like the Dow is now the big runner, at least as of today. Obviously next week, this could all change again, but as of right now, it seems like the tech is kind of lagging behind.
Tom, check out Disney intraday. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, there we go. I'm glad to see that one, Mike. You know that. I mean, man, Disney's finally up. I'm glad it popped back above that 174 resistance, actually popped above it in pre-market, came down at open, touched it. Now we're breaking out to new highs, at least new highs for like the past couple of days. I mean, but looks very solid. And on the 1 year daily, it looks like it's starting to come back, which is a pretty good sign for us.
For sure. So I know over like the past month or so, we've really seen tech just explode. Apple, Nvidia, Amazon, basically anything with tech literally just exploded. Microsoft, Facebook. And what's going to start to happen over the next couple weeks is we are going to see a slow and gradual rotation out of tech and into a different part of the market. Right now, it looks like airlines, you could say even some of these value stocks like Disney, and maybe even some of these bank stocks, because what's going to happen is investors in like these huge hedge funds are going to say, all right, we have, let's say, $1 billion to invest. Are we going to get a better return investing into Apple when it's at $143? Or are we going to get a better return investing into Disney while it's at 175, or JP Morgan when it's at 154, or even some of these airline stocks like you could say like DAL when it's at 43. So we're just going to see a slow, gradual progression into those stocks. And it's like I said, it's slow, and there's not any like plays for right now, but I just want to bring that to everyone's attention because there will definitely be opportunity when we start to see that like buying pressure come in. So just be on the lookout for that. And if you guys are learning something from the stream or you enjoy it, it would help Tom and myself out so much if you guys could hit that like button. We would really, really appreciate it. And then we have Muscle saying, good morning, y'all. Still watching ARK funds, mostly ARKG. Long Nvidia into the split, still holding MBOT and waiting for their medical device patents. So how's MBOT looking, Tom?
This is Microbot, right?
Yep, looks like it.
Yeah, Microbot looks pretty honestly, I don't know. It's definitely flat like over the past like few months to like the past year. Don't have too much like good sentiment about it, at least right now. I think that maybe in the future they can be good. Like he said, if they're researching some groundbreaking stuff, then that'll end up being a pretty good company eventually. But as of right now, it's not moving the best. I like that it's been recovering up, since about the beginning of May, but besides that, it's just over the past year, it's just been pretty flat. So not my favorite setup. It is a little cheap as well. So it's not my favorite stock. But like I said, if they have one of those good catalysts or something like that, that they're researching something pretty big or whatever it is, I think that they could end up having a pretty big run. And, sometimes these biotech companies, whenever they get that good catalyst or that good news that finally comes out, that's when they'll see the big move. So I think you just have to be holding it until that point. So I think it's a pretty good stock. It's just, I don't know the fundamentals behind it, but definitely let me know in the chat, what you found out about it.
Awesome stuff. And we have Mike saying, I'm going to jump in SPCE at $49 as an entry point. So, it's not looking bad. It is pulling back a little bit right now, but if you're grabbing shares, it doesn't hurt. And especially if there's great news regarding their flight this Sunday, that can be awesome.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it'll be a pretty good little keep in mind, I think it's going to be pretty risky though. I think it's a little bit of a gamble play. I'm not sure that they're going to hold 49 intraday. It looks like they're kind of sitting right around there now. Honestly, I think intraday it looks like it might start coming down a little bit more. I don't know if it'll fall down to the 48 support or end up hitting 46, but it definitely looks like it's coming down as of now. It doesn't have that type of upwards momentum that we saw yesterday, but I think that if that flight goes well, we'll see a pretty good move. And I think it might, like I said, it'll definitely be a pretty good gamble play for the next couple of days. And maybe holding it over the weekend might be the way to go, like especially if the flight goes well. But, like I said, it's just a straight up gamble.
All right. Then we have I'm Fierce saying, thanks to NIO's pre-market, I was able to adjust my 46 strike cash secured put to $2 lower and gain $18. Hoping I get assigned next week at 44 so I can sell covered calls on them. I love it. I'm Fierce. I love when you sell, or love when people sell puts and then turn around and sell those covered calls. When you do it correctly, it's just a total win-win, especially if you're doing it on like a solid company, whether that's NIO or Palantir or DraftKings or, any stock you like for the long term. You literally get paid to buy at a low price and sell at a high price. So awesome job there. And it looks like IV's rising a little bit and NIO's pretty good stock in general to sell puts on.
Yeah, it is. And I'm wondering if he might not even end up getting assigned on this. NIO might hold its ground and end up going up. So we'll have to see what ends up happening with it. But like he said, it'd always be good to get those shares and start to sell some calls on it. But hopefully he doesn't get assigned and just ends up getting that free money.
You know it. And what's going to be really fun is, let's say in the next couple weeks or so, when we start to see this rotation out of tech and into let's say airline stocks. A lot of them are pretty low. Like if you look at LUV, they went from like 65 all the way down to 52. Then we look at AAL, went from 26 down to like 21. DAL went from 52 down to 42. So, let's say, well, they actually do have earnings coming up too. Let's say we see a fall on earnings. It can be a total win-win to sell some puts on some of these airlines if you like them for the long term. And in the worst case scenario, you're getting them at a really low price.
Yeah, you are. And the big thing is like whenever you're looking at the airlines, the thing is like a lot of people were honestly expecting them to start to recover up at this time of the year, right during the summer. And we actually started to see them start to, tank off to the downside during the summer. And I think that it's even a little smart to do it right now. Not that it's the best time yet, but if you start to go pretty far out of the money right now, I think it's a good time. It's been dipping down for like the past couple of weeks. And like Mike said, if those earnings end up not going too well, it'll make a really big deal for the airlines, I think. And that IV, if it starts to have like a pre-earnings like breakdown or something like that, that IV might start running up into earnings as well, which might make it even better as long as it doesn't end up, as long as the IV doesn't tank off on earnings too bad. But I really like these airlines for the longer term. And I see a huge support at $40 on DAL. And whenever we're looking at AAL, I have a huge support down here around $20, and then which is where we just hit off of the other day. And then below that, I have one at around $18.25.
Yeah, so they're not bad. I would just like if they had like a little bit higher premiums. But like you said, if they start to sell off and IV starts to increase, it could be a pretty good setup. Then we have Vicky asking about Uber and Penn. So I was watching both of these stocks actually. Uber struggled a little bit. I was really watching and hoping for a breakout above 52, but it just couldn't happen. It sold off pretty hard 2 days ago, so I'm just gonna stay away from it. I thought it had potential when it was like closer to 52, but it's not my favorite right now.
Yeah, mine either. And I'm glad it's running up intraday today. It looks like you could catch maybe some good intraday momentum on it. But other than that, I don't really like it on the daily at all. After that bad day on Monday or on Tuesday or Wednesday, that's definitely not a good sign to see. And I would just say I'm a little bit bearish on it in the shorter term. For the longer term, I think it'll end up being pretty good. But just maybe for like the next month or two, we might see it continue down just given what we saw a couple days ago.
And then Penn, I think I actually like this one. PENN. It had highs of around 142, and now it's at close to 70. So that's like 50% off the high. I like the setup overall. They're at a pretty big support right now, and I'm actually really considering selling puts on this one, or maybe even like getting some shares. I don't know. I like the setup, and I think they definitely have potential, and I think it's awesome to be buying them, when they're 50% off their all-time highs, rather than when they're rallying up to, test at $100 resistance or so.
Yeah, this is actually really smart right now. You could get if you bought right now, you could get about a 95% return if we get back up to 142. But man, that's a big drop that they've been having. I don't know what's been causing this with Penn Gaming. Definitely doesn't look like the best. MGM was moving a lot differently during that time. DraftKings has been down a little bit lately too. So I guess it just has to do with a lot of these stocks just kind of going down. I know Penn is really big with like the online casinos and online like sports gambling and stuff like that. So definitely watch them in the short term. I like it for shares too, Mike. And definitely I think as of right now, this might be one of the better opportunities that I'm seeing in the market. Like for this very second, we're seeing like the airlines go down, but they still have some potential to keep falling. But I think Penn is pretty good at these levels.
Yeah, I'm with you. I also like Disney. And then Tom, what do you think about Cat? This one's having a really good bounce up, almost up 3% today.
Oh man, I'm a little sad because I thought Cat was gonna keep going down, honestly. But like you said, we're seeing that kind of rotation back into these value stocks that have been going down. And I like I said, I was looking at cat puts yesterday, maybe looking at them today open to the downside or something like that. But definitely we saw that reversal. I like the move back up, and who knows, maybe we'll start to see cat, come back up, maybe break this like 222 resistance and maybe actually start to go back up to those all-time highs. I think that would be a pretty good move for cat. They do have a dividend coming up, which is actually increased since the last time, which is nice. And they also have earnings on July 30th. So be a little careful with them. But overall, as of right now, it seems pretty decent. And who knows, maybe they'll pass that infrastructure bill and it'll start to help some of these construction companies again.
Awesome. And then we have Gerard saying Boeing with a huge rejection at 240. So yeah, you're 100% right. Boeing was trying to run this morning, but tons of sellers came in right at 240. That is a pretty big resistance, but they also have a pretty nice support right at like 237 or so. What do you think?
Yeah, I like that support around 237. I think that looks pretty good. That does worry me, that bounce at 240. That was a pretty big resistance for today. But keep in mind, they had that humongous run up yesterday. So maybe a little bit of downwards movement is not the worst right now for Boeing. And as long as these value stocks continue to go up, I think Boeing will be just fine. And as long as they hold that resistance or that support, I should say, like 237, maybe 236, I think that it looks very solid. And even though we had that little bit of red movement, I think it still looks good. We are actually catching some more green as of the past like 5 minutes, and we are starting to go back up. So hopefully it can start to run up again. I honestly really like Boeing on the daily chart, and I think that this will be one of the better value stocks to maybe buy up as it's low. And even especially with that news coming out in China, like they might get the 737s again over there after those crashes, which caused them to kind of go out of service. So definitely some good movement though out of Boeing over the past 2 days. Like I said, I think this might be one of the better value stocks to rotate into.
Yeah, it's actually a good point, and I'm glad you brought that one up because it's been struggling over the past couple months, and I think they definitely have potential to rise.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that maybe some longer term leaps could be good, but shares are obviously my favorite way to go with this, or maybe just selling some puts. The IV was starting to rise very, very slightly there. So maybe we'll start to see a little bit of a bounce back up. And hopefully that China news really helps. But it seems like as of right now, China's been hurting everything. But at least that was good in that case.
For sure. Then we have Visual saying WEN is not backing down on the 15-minute. So let's check it out. WEN, it's holding its ground, Tom. What are some levels to watch out for?
Yeah, the 15 minutes actually one of my favorites to look at here. Let's go ahead and check it out. It looks like there was a humongous resistance around $23. We actually just passed above that. Looks really solid. There was a pretty big support or resistance yesterday, I should say, around 22.75. But this morning we ended up just breaking right out above that. We also broke out above the 100 SMA and ended up running up pretty nicely. And I think that ever since Wendy's had that parabolic run up with like Wall Street Bets and with AMC a couple weeks ago to a month ago now at this point, it's looking pretty strong as it came down on the daily. I think the daily we hit like right off of that $22 support, and it seemed pretty good. So I think it could end up popping over the next day or two. I will say it's not my favorite setup, but I think we could start to see a little bit of a recovery.
All right. And then we have, let's see, next comment, we have Corbin saying, Apple is going against me, LOL. Still hasn't broken yesterday's high, though. So that is good that it is so below yesterday's high. It's definitely trending up a little bit. Let me check the market overall. Yeah, market's trending up today. SPY more than the QQQ. Apple, I mean, it's not looking like crazy strong, but it's also not looking too weak either. Hopefully it stays like below this like 144 area for you. Obviously there's a huge resistance close to 145, which couldn't even test a couple days ago.
Yeah, for sure. And that's going to be like almost that all-time high around 145. But I would say Apple looks a little bullish, I would say, intraday today. It's actually held these SMAs very, very nicely. And usually whenever it holds these the way it's done this morning, like with double bottoms and stuff like that, especially on the support, like the 142.50 area, it usually ends up going up. So I'd be a little careful with this one today. especially if it passes above 144. I think that we might see a retest of like that 145 area. So just be a little careful. And it looks like we are catching green a little bit right now. So like I said, definitely keep your eye on it. I think that it'll be a hard one to watch, but what expiration do you have on those Apple puts? Is it going to be is this something that expires next week, or is this something you have like a couple months on? Because I think if you have a couple months, it could be decent, but if Apple starts to, retest all-time highs, it could get a little scary.
Tom, am I seeing this correctly? Look at Baba's chart for a second. I don't know if I'm seeing this right.
Yeah, it's green, right? Yeah, it's
Finally.
finally green. That was
Finally.
hilarious yesterday whenever you said I think hell froze over. That
Yeah.
was that was really funny. And man, Bob was looking awesome this morning. This is a big move up 2%. Honestly, really good off that $200 support, Mike. I think that we might start to see a pretty good move over the next couple days, maybe the next couple weeks. And I don't want to be too premature on this, but it seems like a pretty good bounce off that support.
Yeah, I mean this thing, like I'm almost in shock. We finally see green on this. For the past couple days, it's been just tanking, and then we have Hunter saying the 1,000 don't miss, Mike, because apparently it bounced off that level perfectly. So yeah, I mean it's I'm just glad to finally see some green on this thing. It's been selling off horribly, so hopefully we see a nice bounce sometime soon. Then we have Muscle saying, thanks guys, always get value from your streams. MBOT patents for micro robotic devices will be a game changer for less invasive procedures. So that's awesome. To be honest, I haven't looked into it too much, but sounds like you definitely did your research. And if you're holding it, I definitely hope it pops for you. Carlos said Baba is green, so probably the next 10 days are going to be red. I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, I know. It just seems like China's probably going to come out this weekend and close down half of Alibaba overnight, or just impose some weird fine on them or something. Who knows? But we'll definitely see some weird stuff come out, I'm sure, with China still. Seems like they were acting really weird this week with Didi. Obviously, they were doing a whole bunch of like regulations on them, and even Didi's catching some green today, up 7%. So maybe we'll see these China stocks start to rebound, and not just Baba alone, but maybe all of them, like JD, Didi, and just all of them. But Baba seems like it has the most potential in my eyes.
Yeah, I think it does definitely have potential. We have Jay saying, any thoughts on mRNA? So I know this one has been doing so well over the past couple months, actually. It's just been exploding. Honestly, it's just to a point for me, I feel like it's not worth the risk anymore getting into it for the upside. And at the same time, it is like I don't know. It's like it's not going down without a fight. So like I feel like it's not like worth the risk playing it to the upside or the downside right now. And that's just me. Some other stocks I was looking at. One is Baba, but also two Disney. I think looks great. Some of these airlines look pretty good too. Some of these banks are even still running up. And like I said, we should see a slow and gradual rotation out of tech and into some of these beaten down value stocks over the next couple weeks or so. Boeing also looks pretty good, but if I had to pick a favorite, it'd probably be Disney.
Yeah, Disney is going to be pretty strong. I think this one actually recovered up very nicely today. Also, it's only up 1.6%, but Disney's never a huge mover unless some big news comes out. But that's a pretty nice recovery that we saw today, and I'm glad that it's kind of showing some strength today. We're also seeing like a Caterpillar go up as well, so maybe they'll start to recover up also.
Good stuff. With the next comment, we have Angel saying, can you check SPCE? What are you seeing, Tom?
Yeah, SPCE just kind of flat today. I will say came down on the 15-minute chart, came right down to the 100 SMA, ended up bouncing off of that. Looks pretty decent though, I'd say. Maybe for recovery back up, like I said, we came down, we're catching some green, now back to the upside. So I'm definitely watching it, especially with that test flight coming up on Sunday. I think that I was expecting some more movement earlier this morning, but I'm not surprised to see it go down. The market likes to do this a lot of the times, and the run up was mainly yesterday, so maybe it's priced in, but I think that we could still see some movement later on today. We'll just have to see if we can end up breaking above that high of this morning around 52.50, but I honestly think it could end up going up. Right now though, I'm just more of neutral on it. It's just kind of like in the middle of its range as of today.
Awesome. So Corbin's expiration are the 144 puts for July 23rd. So he's at the money, which is good. It's just relatively short-term expiration. And like I said, I hope it does fall for you. We are sitting right at that resistance, so hopefully it does turn around. It's just the theta on these short-term calls and puts will be brutal. So I think if you were to get some more time, maybe till August or even longer, that would help you out so much. The theta would be reduced significantly, and then on top of that, well, actually, instead of maybe getting like further expirations, if you just turn these short-term expirations into put debit spreads, one, it would be cheaper, but also two, you'd get closer to the money, and then three, the theta would be reduced. So I would definitely consider either going like the spreads route or at the bare minimum getting more time.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. And man, like with Apple right now, it definitely seems like it's running up intraday. It broke that high of a couple days ago around 144. So be a little careful with it. Like I said earlier, I really like it off this 1000 SMA. Like Hunter said earlier, the 1000 SMA generally hits. So we're seeing that so far this morning. And hopefully Apple can kind of hold this ground and maybe go back down for you. But like I said, it's kind of going back up to that all-time high, and we'll have to see if it can start to move above that or not.
Awesome. And then we have, let's see, we have Ron asking about NIO. He says, please help NIO. So it looks like it's trending down a little bit today. Just went from or green to red, I should say. Tom, do you have any like technicals for us? I see it's trying to bounce off one of your SMAs.
Yeah, that's the 1000 actually. Again, this one's sitting right at it. And it actually kind of came a little bit below it and then just touched it on the 1 minute candle. Keep in mind, this is the 1 minute chart, so it's not quite as defined as like a daily chart. So the 1000 on the daily is generally a really good level. Intraday, it can be anything, of course, because there's just so many different resistances, but seems like a solid touch on that. And like we are catching some red right now, man, it actually is really going down off that level. So definitely looking a little bit bearish intraday. Looks like it's failing to hold this and just kind of breaking down below. So, but generally, I thought NIO might have had a good day today, considering in pre-market it was looking pretty decent. And we saw a good bounce off of it yesterday. But like you said, there's just that kind of rotation going on right now. And I guess people are seeing NIO as one of those good tech stocks. But yeah, it's continuing to see that red momentum on these 1 minute candles and really defined there on that 1000. So honestly, just look for it maybe to hit some support today. I would say there's a good support coming up right around $45. So maybe watch out for that.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining the stream. Likes really help us out. And if you guys are learning something, it would really help us out if you could hit that like button. Then we have Angel saying, I'm down 75% on my call. So it looks like SPCE, they're probably weekly calls because that theta decay seems pretty bad, but it looks like it's holding that support, Tom. We're back above 50.
Yeah, that's awesome to see. And we're back above some of the SMAs as well. So seems like a pretty decent sign, maybe intraday for SPCE. We'll have to see how it goes. And man, I'm really hoping this one can get another run back up just because I was just wanting to see some hype today out of something. I mean, it's Friday. I didn't want to have to, hype up Caterpillar and Wells Fargo. That's for sure. So
Right.
hopefully we can see SPCE start to fly up. Maybe we'll be able to catch a good runner towards the end of the day. Keep in mind that maybe towards the end of the day, a lot of people are going to get that FOMO feeling and they might come rushing into this, before the weekend gets here.
You know it. Absolutely. I'm just looking for a couple different stocks right now. Looks like Apple's leading the way to the upside, which will be good for Justin at least. Baba's rallying up. It looks like Bank of America still doing pretty well. Spy's trending up there. GE. Disney's doing pretty well. We have SPCE coming back. What else? Let's see. Corbin said OSTK broke the $92 resistance. So yeah, OSTK is looking pretty good too.
Yeah, it is. That's a big intraday move, actually. That 92 resistance was very, very solid there. I really like that move up above that. And man, OSTK on the daily actually looks so solid off of this red trend line that I've drawn. And it's just been in this steady trend to the upside. It broke below it for one day and then just came right back up above that. So, but besides that one time, it had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This was the 6th bounce off of this trend now. So honestly, really good levels for overstock. And I could think that they could continue as long as we stay above this trend. Keep in mind, though, there is a resistance, a pretty big one actually at $95. But I think we could have a pretty safe $2 move up to that 95 resistance.
Awesome. And then we have Hunter saying, are there betting lines on the space flight? Honestly, I wouldn't doubt it. You can bet on basically anything.
Man, I saw something the other day. I was looking at some of the McGregor betting stuff on there, and I saw some betting lines of somebody who was going to take somebody's position on that show, The View, which like comes
Huh.
on in the morning or something. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff on there. Yeah, I know you can bet on really, really weird stuff. So that'd be honestly pretty cool if you could do that. But I know that McGregor stuff's coming up this weekend. I wonder if that's going to help DraftKings at all, or maybe help the stock EDR, which is actually the UFC stock. And maybe it could actually help EDR, I would think, more than anything. But EDR has been kind of in a little bit of a downtrend ever since that initial IPO run up.
You know it. All right, we have Jerry saying, can I get some resistance on Snap? Let's check out Snap, Tom. So I saw it was having a pretty good day. The major level I see, this is a huge level actually, is 65. It touched this level, what is this, like 7 or 8 times? Maybe even more if you're looking intraday. It really struggled at this level in the past. 65 is the main one for me. Looks like we have a little bit of chop right at like $64.40 too. And then once we get past 65, the next one is right at like 65.75.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a lot of resistance coming up, but the stock does look pretty hot this morning. We'll just have to see how it ends up moving. But man, there is a lot of resistance coming up, like you said. So I'd be very, very careful with it. It's not my favorite setup. I think that Disney and some other ones look a little bit better. And just keep in mind that Snap is going to be one of those social media companies. So if they all start tanking, then Snapchat will probably get thrown into that bus. But I'm glad they held that 62 support and ended up going up. And I would think if they could break out, Mike, above that 65 level, we might see a big move. But that 65 is also right on the 1,000 SMA. So I would say we're going to see some stiff resistance there.
Yeah, I think so. Jerry, have you seen any like notable flow on Snapchat or anything like that? Because it's definitely rallying pretty well, but 65 seems definitely like a tough level. We also have, let's see, we have I'm Fear saying Baidu is following Baba. It just shot up. Let's check it out. BIDU looks pretty good. You know, it's popping up very well. Great catch, and it looks like Baidu isn't looks like Baidu actually might be a really good setup. I'm very glad you pointed this out to me. I might sell some puts on this one.
Yeah, I really like the setup too. It's starting to pop up above some of those small resistances that we saw yesterday. I like the move up, and with especially with like Baba and all these Chinese stocks starting to go up, I think it looks pretty solid, especially on the daily. This one was also right around that 1,000 SMA. We're just getting back above that, so I think that we could start to see a good move out of this one also. And it seemed like all the Chinese stocks, honestly, they were up so much. It almost reminds me of how like Zoom and Palantir and all those stocks, they before they rotated back to the downside, you know, they were all up quite a bit, ended up tanking down and then had a nice recovery back up. So hopefully we see that with the Chinese stocks now. And it just shows that there's just that type of there's just that type of rotation that just keeps happening with these stocks. And as of right now, the Chinese stocks are just at the bottom, you know, of their rotation. So I would say definitely look for them to go up over the next couple months.
So I see you're on Zoom right now. Like we can see like over like I don't know like the past year or so there was just a ton of selling pressure except for the past month which exploded to the upside. And I bet we see something very similar with these Chinese stocks like Baba and especially Baidu. I think Baidu looks great actually. I'm very glad I'm Fierce brought that up because I think the setup looks really good. Baidu, it's sitting right at that, what is that $180 level. And, you know, maybe if we like consolidate for a couple more weeks or a couple more months, and who knows, we might see this thing retest like 240 or 250.
Yeah, I think we could see that pretty easily as well. And whenever we look at this, you know, a lot of those growth stocks like Palantir and Zoom, you know, they did kind of sit there and hover around some levels for like a month or two. So don't be surprised if like Baba or some of those stocks maybe sit here for a little while. And that's why it's so important to make sure you get time. But I think that it's definitely due for a pretty good little pop back up. And I'm not saying that we're going to retest all-time highs or anything like that, but like you said, definitely up to like 220 or 240 could be pretty easy.
All right, we have Trading Desk saying PayPal looking like a seesaw on the 1 minute. Let's check it out. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, let's go see it on the 1 minute. Well, yeah, that's actually pretty choppy. Up, down, up, down. It is holding this 100 SMA pretty well so far today. We are catching some good red right now, and it looks like we're going down, but who knows? We might hold these levels and continue to go up. Generally, whenever we have a move like this in the morning, it generally results in a trend back to the upside from what I've seen. So we'll have to see if it can just hold this SMA or not. I think if not, then we'll just have to look at it to the downside. But there's a pretty big support here around 296, which was the high of yesterday. I think it looks pretty decent though, Mike. PayPal does. It's been recovering up pretty nicely, and it's like retesting those all-time highs. And it's hard to say though. I'm more neutral on it for the next couple of days, but I think it could start to get to all-time highs, especially if we see like these bank stocks and some of these other like monetary stocks start to fly up.
Yeah, for sure. And then with the next comment, we have Wasim saying UPST. You think it's ready to go up? So it might. It's just not for me. It's just been not really moving at all, to be honest. It's sitting right around that $120 area. I think there's other stocks that have more potential. I still think we're a little bit early on these China stocks. Like I was looking at Baidu, Baba. I like some of these bank stocks because I think we're going to see a rotation slowly over the next couple weeks. JP Morgan, also stocks like Disney, that's probably my favorite. And even some of these airlines, they're beaten down quite a bit. DAL, LUV, and if you want to get a little bit more speculative, you can go even to AAL. So UPST, it can be good, but I just think that there's better opportunities.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing that I just kind of thought of, Mike, and I don't know if this is maybe the airlines going down like in anticipation of any of this or not, but I'm sure that you haven't heard of any of this by you because you're down in Florida, but by me, they're reinstating the mask stuff again now. Like
Huh.
we're gonna have to start wearing masks around like St. Louis area. You know, I don't live in St. Louis City, but where I live, I'm fine. I won't have to wear one, but they're gonna make it where in the cities and stuff, you're gonna have to start wearing masks again with this new variant coming out. And I'm wondering if that's kind of like why some of these airlines and stuff were kind of going down, maybe in anticipation of some of that travel sector maybe slowing down again, or I have no idea, but it seems like this new variant's getting a little bit of strength. And we're seeing stocks like Pfizer, they keep reporting. Like yesterday, I saw a new report that Pfizer had developed a new vaccine for the new Delta variant. And I know that Moderna has been trying to develop something as well. But overall, I mean, it just seems like that this new variant just keeps getting in the headlines more and more and more. And, you know, no matter if you believe in the variant or not or whatever, in the end, it might end up affecting the economy, which is going to suck for us in the short term. And it's just definitely something just to keep in the back of your mind. Like I said, I know the county by me is going to start making us wear masks again. So it's definitely just a little bit of a weird scenario once again, I think. And if we start to see some more restrictions, I mean, man, it might hurt some of these companies even more in the shorter term.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the flow on Baidu. It looks like there's some pretty good money flowing into it. So I'm gonna double check that one later. But with the next comment, we have Justin saying, "Do you guys think, in your experience, that SPCE will fall on Monday? One of those buy the rumor, sell the news type things." So it's really hard to say because we really don't see setups like this happen too often. You know, of course we have, like, if we want to like generally put this type of setup into like one of the like hype setups, like with like Tesla earnings or the Tesla battery day or like Neo day or something like that. Normally the events are overhyped and normally they end up being like underwhelming. However, this is a little bit different because like you don't see a bunch of companies flying into space every day. So it's a little bit different, and there's so many variables with how the flight goes, and then how investors value this catalyst. So really, it's hard to say. It's hard to give an accurate prediction.
Yeah, for sure. And like anything weird could happen. You know, space flight puts a pretty big toll on people's bodies and stuff. And who knows, like you might get out into space and like start getting sick from not being used to it, or who knows. So like there might be some weird stuff that goes on with the tourism aspect of this. But that's the big thing, is that I wouldn't generally classify this as like that situation of of like buy the rumor, sell the news type deal. That's just like you said, Mike, I think it's a little bit different here. with it being space. And I think that like with this test flight, like you said, there's just so many variables that I think that it could honestly end up flying up Monday. It could go up another 50%, I think, or it could end up going down like, 10 to 30%. Who knows? It's definitely going to be a crazy thing. And if something really bad happens, like a technical engine failure or something like that, I think we'll see it really fall down. If it's a weather delay, I think we'll see it fall down a little bit. And if we see the test flight go very well and all the live streams are awesome and they get into space well and they're celebrating and all that stuff, then I think the stock will end up flying Monday. I think that there's just a few different ways that it can go. And I don't think that it's going to depend on like one scenario, like buy the rumor, sell the news. It's definitely going to depend on what ends up happening.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many variables. It's hard to give any sort of accurate projection or anything. But the best thing you can do is just make sure if you're playing it, understand that you only have like money in there that you're willing to lose, because this thing can explode or it can tank. No one knows for sure. There's a million and one variables. But then we have Alex saying, "How's Facebook today? Sold out of the puts. Maybe want to get back in." So Tom, what's it looking like?
Yeah, it's actually popping up a little bit. We've seen some of these tech stocks come up this morning, kind of like Apple, I believe, and a couple of the others. Let me go check Apple again. But yeah, Apple's really running up, Facebook running up too. I think we had Snapchat up today. Let's check Twitter really quick. Twitter kind of moved up. So it seemed like that Facebook is moving up a little bit. It's actually having some pretty big resistance here around 348. It actually kind of failed to break above that. It worried me a little bit. I saw it break out above the 1000 SMA, but I know that we were in those puts, at least the whole position. We're still up on them, from the price we bought around 700. They're around 795 right now. So we are still up on them in the meantime. And I think that there could still be some downwards movement over the next few days. And just keep in mind that a lot of the times, whenever we see some downwards movement, like we saw with Facebook, how it just kind of had that huge move down, there's normally a little bit of consolidation after that. So I'm not too surprised to see it moving like this today. And who knows, it might just take until Monday to see that downwards movement start to happen, but definitely keeping my eyes on it. I'm not sure I'd re-enter the puts right now, but it's definitely a decent time to do it. I don't know when you sold out of your puts. I don't know if you sold out this morning or if you sold out yesterday, but if you sold out yesterday, then today might be a decent day to re-get in.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Tom, when we see stocks, especially tech stocks that are slowly being rotated out of, when we see them fall, it's not just like one or two huge red days. It can take, even a week or even longer, because it can be choppy movement. We still have a lot of people buying in, but in general, I think the setup looks pretty good. It's trending down. Implied volatility is rising. People are clearly bidding up the options. Bidding up the options on this one. So I'm not really too worried about it. I think the setup looks pretty good in general, and the risk reward is definitely there. Then we have Jerry saying he's going to sell some of the 65 calls then for Snapchat, which I think could be good. 65 calls or even a little bit further out of the money. Then we have T saying, how about GS? So GS is definitely a powerhouse. They're a financial stock. They're doing pretty good in general. We might see a rotation into the financial sector over the next couple weeks. We're too early to tell now. It's, you can't really, I guess you can predict which stocks will be rotated into, but most of the time you just got to like observe it and, just see what's flowing. So it definitely has potential, and they're a great company.
Yeah, and I think we'll start to see that rotation a little bit more over the next couple of weeks. So I think it'll get to be a little bit easier to identify. But I do like the bank stocks. And one thing that gives me a little bit of confidence with the banks is how they kept saying that they have a lot of extra cash in place. And like I remember JP Morgan, they kept saying that they were sitting on cash because of inflation and everything like that. So it seems like that even if something bad does end up happening, at least that they have a lot of stuff going on to where they can kind of cover themselves, and they've been kind of anticipating some of these events coming up. So it's definitely a good thing for them that they did that, and I think that that'll maybe give them some more strength here in the shorter term.
All right, then we have Corbin saying F had a good move this morning. How's Ford doing?
Yeah, pretty good actually. They had a bad like past couple weeks, definitely going down a little bit. I know that they had to cancel some production on their F-150 and on like that new Bronco because of the semiconductor shortages that we just continue to see affect the market. But man, Ford has been doing so good the past year. Like I said, I'm not surprised to see it down a little bit. I think that the past couple days have just been a couple of like consolidation days back to the upside. I honestly still think that we're going to see Ford end up going down a little bit more. Like I said, especially with all this semiconductor shortages and everything like that going on, I think that will hurt them over the next like month or two. So just be a little wary of Ford. And like I said, it's up so much the past year. I think I calculated this from the COVID lows. It's up like 400% or something like that. At the high, it was up 300%. So right now it's up around 260% since 2020. So definitely a big mover over the past couple of years. I think it will end up doing good in the longer term, but in the shorter term, I think we might see more downwards movement. But this might be one of those stocks that people kind of rotate back into.
Gotcha. And then we have we have Mike saying a few months back, you guys were really big on SPCE. Are you still holding it? So, Tom, I'll let you take this one.
No, I'm not. Personally, I got out on the first run up whenever they were running up into those first test flights that they did. And the test flights ended up going wrong and then sending SPCE right back to the downside, which was unfortunate. But we can see that how it ran up there. It's kind of like in that kind of run up once again. I think that we might see a run up if this event goes well. If it goes bad, we'll see a move to the downside. But I ended up exiting. I had a couple hundred shares, I believe it was. I can't remember the exact amount at around $24, $25 each. And I ended up selling out somewhere around 44 or 45. I obviously didn't hold it to the top, but I got out at a pretty good time for the amount that I ended up buying in. I got out right around this upper resistance from the past, I believe. And as soon as we broke out of there, I sold. But overall, seems like a pretty decent setup right now. And I wish I would have rebought it down here towards the bottom, but obviously it's so hard to call the bottom on a stock like this. But they just had they had some good catalysts down here as well with some more test flights going on, and they ended up doing some more stuff and having some good numbers with their reservations and everything. So I think it ended up being good, but no, I'm still not in. I ended up getting out. I am actually looking at maybe holding some calls over the weekend as a straight up gamble play, but I think that I might just hold out on this one and just let it take its course. But I definitely liked it in the past, and the thing that worried me about it down here at the bottom, because I was gonna dip by it, but the CEO ended up selling out of some shares, and Kathy Wood trimmed some positions, so I ended up not getting in down here at the bottom. But I really wish I would have, of course.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people got juked out on this one. It goes from what, like 20 all the way to 62, all the way down to 15, and then all the way back up to 55. Like, it's been a wild ride for this one. And some people, like you said, the CEO, and then even Kathy, she got juked out. And, it's just a tough one to trade. And I feel like it just goes to show you that even some of the smartest and people like with the most power in the markets, even sometimes they get juked out. And Warren Buffett, he sold like the airlines, I believe, at a pretty bad time too. But it's just how the market works sometimes. Then we have Corbin saying Boeing broke the high of day. Let's check it out. Boeing is looking pretty good. It's up a little bit over 1% right now. We're getting close to that high of day. It's right at $240.10. We're creeping right up to that resistance.
Corbin, you lied. It did not break the high. It got really close. But yeah, that's funny. It's actually right there. Good eye though, Corbin. I'll definitely be watching this one. I think if we could get a good move out above this, we could see a pretty solid move. So thanks for the heads up. Definitely a good one to watch. And I'll definitely have it on my radar for the rest of today. I'm glad we're catching some green here over the past couple minutes. And I think that maybe Corbin is a couple minutes ahead of us, Mike, because it looks like it's going to head up above this.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's better to see it right before it breaks that high a day so you can get in right before everyone else. So either way, I think it's a good setup. Thanks for pointing this one out, Corbin. There's definitely a lot of money flowing into it. They have some good catalysts too, and Boeing's just been struggling over the past couple months. So I really would not be surprised if we did see this one start to run. We have W saying Stamps is up over 60%. Do you think any opportunities there, calls or puts? And T said the same thing. So STMP. Let's check it out. STMP. Yeah, this thing is exploding, Tom. Wow.
Yeah, what ended up happening? There must be some big catalysts with this one, but they're actually right up to those all-time highs around 325, having a lot of consolidation right around that area. They actually ended up hitting 328 in pre-market, but wow, Mike, yeah, I mean, that's definitely the word to describe what's going on with this one today. That is huge.
Yeah, so it looks like I just read on the news, stamps.com to be acquired by what is that? Bravo for $6.6 billion. So obviously they are being acquired for a pretty nice premium. It's a cash deal. So basically in these types of scenarios, what ends up happening is the market bids up the stock, as we can see, to a price where basically it's hard to explain in like a simple way, but the stock is currently priced in a way where the total like the high end of where STMP might be acquired for per share might be like $324, right? Right now you can buy it for like 323. If you wanted to quote unquote bet on if this deal will go through, you can end up buying shares and you'll end up getting cash for them. But for the most part, in a simple, easy to understand way, STMP will most likely just consolidate and do nothing for the next couple weeks until they're fully acquired. This happens a lot when companies get bought out or acquired, or if they merge or something like that. They just gap up or down significantly and they just consolidate. So honestly, there's no play here unless you want to bet against the deal going through, but the odds of that happening are pretty unlikely. So there's really nothing you can do at this point. We can also see how the implied volatility just got destroyed. It was at 66% yesterday. Now it's at 41%. That shows that the options market is also understanding that it will most likely consolidate for the next couple weeks.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense and really good information there. Actually, that was really interesting to hear about that acquisition.
Exactly. And then Hunter was saying the same thing. He said, I think they are on a buyout or a merger, so it wouldn't be good for options in my opinion. So exactly. So good stuff there. It looks like that's all the comments, Tom. So what are some of the top stocks you're looking into for the rest of the day?
Man, there's been some good runners today. I mean, Apple was really running up earlier in the day. I think I'm going to be watching for them to possibly hit their all-time high, at least get really close to it. They're kind of bouncing off that 144.50 area right now. I hope that whoever had puts is maybe changing up their position, or I hope Apple ends up going down for them off of this level. But I'm definitely going to have my eyes on this one. I'm still going to be watching Boeing as well. Like Corbin said, it was right around that 240 level. I think this could be a really good one. If anyone wants to maybe catch a quick runner today, maybe whenever Boeing breaks out, that could be a good one if it does end up breaking out, that is. But I honestly like that move. And then all the banks as well, those are looking decent. Baba's looking decent. So there's a few stocks, but I'd say Boeing is my favorite out of all of them.
Awesome. I like Boeing. I like Baidu. And I also like Penn, Penn. I feel like that one definitely has potential to rise. So thank you guys so much for watching today's stream. We hope you have an amazing weekend and a great end of the trading week. And thanks for watching and have an amazing day.